Hello, and welcome to Fleet Auto News Podcast. I'm Caroline Falls, and I'm thrilled today to have the head of one of the country's biggest delivery fleets with us. It's Joe Sofra, CEO of ANC. Its customers include Bunnings, IKEA, and JB Hi-Fi. I was keen to talk to Joe after seeing some of his social media posts recognising World EV Day on September 9. Hi, Joe, and welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, firstly, tell us a bit more about World EV Day and your company's involvement in that.
Yeah, look, thank you, Caroline. Well, look, we think World EV Day is an important day to mark, and you know we're a social partner for World EV Day. You know, it is something that for us represents an important movement in what we're trying to do with our business and where we're trying to go in the promotion of a zero emissions strategy going forward. So, you know, we're a very keen supporter of World EV Day.
Okay, so I want to talk more about your EV strategy, but otherwise, just a bit more about ANC. I read that you're responsible for some staggering 5 million deliveries a year. Are they all in Australia? And can you give us some more vital statistics, like how many drivers do you have? How many vehicles in the fleet?
Yeah, sure, Caroline. Look, yes, we're a privately owned Australian company, so we operate exclusively in Australia, working for, as you say, quite a number of very large, iconic retail brands here in Australia. Both brands that are, you know, very, very well known to a lot of Australian householders like Bunnings and IKEA and others, but we also do work for some e-commerce clients as well, and fast emerging e-commerce clients. So we focus very much in that space where the nature of the deliveries that we do are often a little bit more complex. You know, they involve more complex goods, big goods, white goods, televisions, you know, fridges, freezers, those type of things, and fast moving products as well. We have about 1,200 delivery agents out there at the moment, over 1,000 vehicles in our fleet, and quite importantly, over 200 staff who support those deliveries.
Okay, so my next question, I was going to get you to paint a picture for us of a day in the life of one of your vehicles. So I don't know how you're going to pick which one, but how does it start generally, and what's required of it, and how does it start the day?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, Caroline, because it's quite mixed, as you would expect, just given the nature of the sort of things we do, which, you know, is quite different depending on the nature of the client that we are working for and the customers that we're delivering to. So, but typically, I guess most of our delivery agents will probably be up at around 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, to their depots or to their collection points at about 5, and typically out on the road delivering at somewhere around 6 o'clock in the morning. We have other parts of our fleet where we even do very late night deliveries, and particularly given that some of the contracts that we hold have a high technical assurance component to that. Sometimes, you know, we'll be doing late deliveries to make sure that those customers get those goods, which are quite critical to their lives. So it's very mixed depending on the nature of what we do and who we're delivering for. But as you would expect, you know, for a lot of our delivery agents, you know, flexibility is one of the key things that they need to be able to execute on their task well.
Okay, so I think you said you had about 1,000 vehicles. How many of those are electric vehicles, and what sort of goals or commitments is ANC making towards reducing emissions? Like, what is your EV strategy?
So, yeah, if I start with that part of the question first, Caroline, look, our objective certainly is to over the next couple of years, rapidly accelerate our progression towards a much greener mobility solution. So that fundamentally translates to, more zero emissions vehicles on the road in replacement of brown vehicles, brown class of vehicles. And in that, it's not as straightforward as just replacing like for like, because as we've dug deeper in this space, what we've recognised is that there's many classes of vehicles that come with being electric that were not previously available in their, I guess, brown variant, if you wish. So that creates more flexibility and more optionality for us as well in the way we configure our mobility solutions to our clients and to our customers. To answer the first part of your question, so we were an earlier adopter where we put on the road 3 first generation Pantech vehicles, so 3 trucks. We've currently got 2 running now. One's being rebuilt after a minor accident several months ago. But we expect that by the end of this calendar year, we'll have about 14 vehicles on the road, including 2 tuk-tuks, which will be conceptual vehicles that we're bringing in to trial a different mobility strategy. We think by the end of the financial year, we'll be aiming somewhere between 30 to 40 vehicles on the road. And then from there, we really want to be able to accelerate, sort of getting into the hundreds. I think one of the challenges that we recognise as part of all of this is that there are some constraints around the availability of vehicles, but we're working our way through that. Our deeper concerns probably lie around the infrastructure and the charging infrastructure in particular, and how to solve for those issues, which I think then becomes part of the more broader national agenda in relation to creating infrastructure for electrification of vehicles. One comment I will make, Caroline, if I can just add to that point, is for us, one of the things that motivates us very strongly in electrifying our fleet, which is predominantly light commercial, as you would expect, is that I think for a lot of folks, it's not a well understood statistic out there that even though light commercial vehicles only make up about 1/3 of the, let's call it the road traffic, they do about 40% more kilometres and emit about 50% more emissions, just simply because of the amount of work that they do. So for us, we think there's a really big bang for buck in terms of going green and driving a net zero outcome by leaning harder into the light commercial space versus, say, passenger vehicles as an example. So that's partly what's driving us here. But we do recognise that part of our job here is to also continue to lean into the infrastructure requirements that will be required to support, a growing fleet.
Yeah, great. And I was just wondering if one of the drivers as well is customers. Like, are more and more customers asking for your help in, meeting their own emissions reductions goals? Are you having to align with the most progressive of those?
Yeah, look, it's another great question, Caroline. So in our business, we differentiate between our clients and our customers. So our clients are the people that we contract with, so the Bunnings and the IKEAs and the Pet Circles, and our customers are the people that we ultimately deliver and complete the experience for. And if I focus on just customer for a minute, the one thing about last mile delivery in particular, and particularly the nature of our last mile solutions, we have a lot of interaction with the customer. We're often delivering something to you. We're often putting something to your home. There's often an interaction with you. So we are certainly picking up on your point that customers are expecting a change. It makes a difference to their experience if their product is delivered in an electric vehicle. It really does. And so that's one of the reasons why we're avoiding going down that pathway of going green using carbon offsets. No, what we would rather do is lean hard into actually changing vehicles out and putting more green vehicles in place of brown on the road, because it makes a difference to the customer's experience. And I think, to your point, customers are expecting that shift and that change. And because we're visible to them versus maybe other transport providers who are not as visible to them, it makes a difference. So that is why we are leaning into this very hard. If nothing else, it's our customers are our beacon in this regard. They are driving us to do that.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. But when I used the word customers, I think I was using it in the term that you call clients. So,
Yeah.
you know, are your clients, which is people like IKEA, you know, that are progressive, are you having to align with those? Are they making these demands on
certainly.
you as well?
Yes, certainly, Caroline. Look, I don't think there's a client that we're not talking with at the moment where, you know, a zero emissions, you know, carbon reduction strategy or sustainable strategy is not actively part of our dialogue with them. So, you know, there are very progressive organisations like IKEA and others who, you know, it is increasingly becoming just a core component of partnering with them, and that, you know, we're seeing that across quite a number of our clients now. It is, and it's much more of a partnering kind of discussion than it is a requirement in the sense of, well, you know, we need to comply, because I think everybody recognises that there's a challenge in going green. But you're absolutely right. It's increasingly becoming a very important part of the ultimate solution that needs to be delivered to those clients.
We'll be back after a short break for a word from our sponsor, Sofico Services.
Sofico is a world-leading provider of enterprise software for the automotive leasing, finance, and mobility industry. For more than 30 years, international leasing companies and OEMs count on Sofico's expertise and technology to help them transform innovative product concepts into streamlined business processes and engaging customer experiences. With more than 370 experts, 8 offices on 4 continents, and an annual growth averaging 15%, Sofico is perfectly positioned to help its customers succeed in a rapidly changing market where electrification, shared fleets, and multimodal mobility challenge us and our customers to play a pioneering role. Continuous investment in people, innovation, and leading-edge technology is the basis for continued growth and success.
So let's just talk a bit more about your fleet. And I note that you're engaged a lot in so-called last mile delivery. What size vehicles comprise the fleet?
So we have a very mixed and diverse fleet. So we have anything from a crane truck, so a truck that sort of weighs in the order of 10 odd tonnes, that's capable of moving many tonnes to construction sites, all the way down to a ute, and more or less everything in between. So trucks, like commercial vans, larger vans. So our fleet is quite distributed because of the nature of the types of products that we move through our last mile delivery network. And
what make of vehicles do you have? And I was just wondering, like, do you own them or lease them, or do the drivers own them?
Our model is our delivery agents are subcontractors to us, so they're the owners of those assets. With our electric vehicles, we've owned for the original 3 because it's been part of our strategy to accelerate that. But our preferred business model very much is to engage our delivery agents as subcontractors to our business.
Okay, so I suppose you've got to come up with some sort of strategies to incentivize them down the line to bring in these electric vehicles. But meanwhile, you recently introduced a C electric Pantech truck, and are you able to tell me if that's a bit of a celebrity truck in the fleet at the moment? The drivers all curious about it. How is it fitting in? Doing the job required of it?
It is. Bestie has become a little bit of a celebrity. So Bestie is the name we've given the vehicle. It has become a bit of a celebrity. Certainly, you know, and just going back to our delivery agents and our drivers, you know, we are working with them very much, and we're demonstrating the different classes of vehicles, and we're actually giving them time in the vehicles as well, because we've learnt a lot in the operation of these vehicles over the last 3 or 4 years that we've owned them as well. And so, we do have, in actual fact, our drivers are very motivated to get into them. With Bestie, look, certainly it'll go into its first deployment for the next few months. Our aim is to use Bestie in different contracts and give more exposure to our drivers as well, just to get comfortable with electric vehicles, because they are different than brown in their operation, more beneficial in some regards. So yeah, it is becoming a bit of a celebrity, and we're certainly getting a lot of response in the social media channels as well.
Okay, so that's a cute name, Bestie. Do you name all your trucks, or like what? How did that come about?
No, we don't, but we have a little play there on E for what is electric. But we do, certainly in terms of creating the right level of critical mass within our fleet. Our EV units are special. And those drivers who drive our EV units have a special place in our fleet, because we need to make sure that their operation is maximised, because ultimately what we're trying to do is obviously take as many carbon tonnes out of our operation as we possibly can, as fast as we can. So those vehicles also work pretty hard as well.
Okay. Yeah, just turning to sort of availability of vehicles that are suitable for your fleet. The EV Council and the Australian Trucking Association recently released a report indicating there's less than 20 EV trucks available in the Australian market. And I was just wondering, are you satisfied with that sort of range to choose from and availability, and how concerned are you about lead times?
Look, lead times, I think probably like anything in the global supply that's leveraged the global supply environment at the moment, lead times are always a bit concerning. Look, we've had reasonable amount of success sourcing vehicles at this point in time. I mean, I think part of that, Caroline, we didn't start today. We started 4 years ago in really building up a cache of knowledge around vehicle types, and we've been dealing a lot with OEMs directly to understand, fit for purpose of different vehicles, and that's in part led to the 4 vans that will go live in the next little period, and in addition to that, the 2 tuk-tuks, the 2 concept vehicles that are in Australia at the moment and will be ultimately deployed, and we'll probably expand that fleet quite quickly. So we're at the moment, my point of anxiety, I'm sure it will change, but at the moment isn't necessarily around being able to source vehicles. My point of anxiety is much more around the supporting infrastructure to charge these vehicles, given that how you re-energize an electric vehicle is a little bit different to a conventional powered vehicle. So I think I probably am more focused on that at the moment, to make sure that we have the supporting infrastructure so we can expand the fleet as fast as we possibly can.
Okay. Yeah, I should probably go there a little bit. Are you getting charging infrastructure sort of built into, added into some of your depots?
Yeah, so look, we certainly are, but last mile, I guess probably last mile requires us to be a little bit more distributed and a bit more flexible than that. So it's one thing to have charging infrastructure at a centralised depot, and it works for some parts of the fleet, but not all. So we do, we are working with a number of different parties as well to see where common user facilities could be established rapidly, so that what we have is a number of various sources of infrastructure and charging facilities, as well as at home charging facilities as well, to support different classes of vehicles as well. So it's probably not a one solution fits all type approach. So what we've taken up here as well is we're working with a lot of financiers, infrastructure and charging providers as well, to see what we can do to lean into that, to get that infrastructure moving forward as well.
Well, I guess we can both take heart that there are a lot of players out there trying to establish these charging facilities for fleets like yours. But anyway, I also just wanted to touch on something I noticed on your LinkedIn feed, that you pay tribute to CEO Connect with Driver, a day that you held earlier this year.
Mhm.
And of course, COVID did raise the profile and the important role that drivers like yours play in our society and economy. But just tell me how you value drivers and what you expect from them in their role at ANC. And, you know, when did you introduce the CEO Connect Day, and, you know, how important is that to you?
Yeah. Look, thank you for asking that question, Caroline, because it is. Look, they are incredibly important. They're our front line, but they're not just doing deliveries. You know, they're our customer. They're like our key customer officers. They're the people that are interacting with our customers all the time. They are the ones that are stepping into our customers' homes, and how successful we are as an organisation is ultimately determined by them. So they are incredibly important. We set and frame our business model around making sure that, you know, they are as supported as we can support them, and that, you know, there are benefits that flow to them through that hard work and that hard effort. And, you know, we have our benefits box and things like that to help our drivers, you know, benefit from the work that they do and the way they go about it. Look, the CEO Connects for me were a real opportunity just to get to site as many times as I possibly can and speak to as many drivers as we possibly can to really understand the challenges. And as you've said, you know, COVID was quite a significant reset for the whole sector around, you know, the amount of volume, the deliveries, the way those deliveries were done, the change in the way our clients went about it. So with all of that, you know, it's very easy to focus on perhaps the things that you see in terms of the planning and the organisational elements, but you got to hear it firsthand on the ground as well about where some of those challenges really lie. And some of that feedback we use to design the way we interact with our clients, and some of it we use in terms of how we best support those drivers. So look, they're hypercritical, and you know, we have a number of operating principles within our business, Caroline, and you know, one of the big ones for us is that diversity makes us stronger. So we seek diverse opinions and feedback wherever we can get it, and our drivers present lots of really encouraging feedback for us to be able to use. So the CEO Connect's really important, and I'm due to do another one now. I think probably late October, early November. Again, just to get around the country and interact with as many of our fleet as possible.
Wow, Joe, I could go on and on. You've raised a lot of things that I'd like to talk more about, but I'll save them for another day. And I'll say thank you very much for your time today. It's been great to hear your take on the value that you give drivers, and it's been great to hear how you're transitioning your fleet.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I really appreciate the time and the support.
You've been listening to Fleet Auto News podcast. It was edited and produced by Isabella Fiorentino. Thank you again to our new sponsor, Sofico Services. It's great to have you on board. The original theme music for this podcast was created by Isabella Fiorentino. You can follow us on Spotify. Just search for Fleet Auto News. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Our website is fleetautonews.com, where you can get all our stories, videos, and podcasts. Until next time, drive safely and take care.